Hey YouTube, I'm Lucky, and clips like this are about to come to an end because the hard light spam meta is over. Bungie has just announced that they are going to do a mid-season patch. That's right, a mid-season patch. This is very rare that we get these. A lot of times we end up having to suffer an entire season with weapons being extremely broken, weapons being extremely overpowered. We saw this a lot with Lord of Wolves. Lord of Wolves remained such a dominant, such a strong weapon for so long, but the hard light, as I've mentioned in all of the previous meta reports, and I'm going to talk about again today, the hard light is getting a mid-season nerf. And here's what they're going to do. Hard light's damage fall off now floors at 0.7 times. Auto rifles used to have 0.5 standard, so it has a little bit more damage fall off than the average auto rifle, which is fine because currently it has no damage fall off at all, which means you can literally use it across the entire map, no matter what map you're on. They split ricochet bonus damage between PvE and PvP, which is something we've known about for a long time, that although it seems like you're the exact same in PvP as you are in PvE, you actually aren't. They actually balance the two sandboxes differently. They just keep it so extremely close that it feels like it's the same in the two different realms. But PvE damage remains at 2.0, so if you like using the hard light in PvE, you can still use the hard light in PvE, okay? They didn't ruin it for the PvE. But for PvP, it's now 1.35 times damage on the ricochet rounds. So they neutered that from 2 to 1.35, so now people won't be spamming it at empty hallways hoping that it ricochets and kills people. So that's nice. It'll still be strong, it'll still be powerful, but the most important part, and the part that remains to be seen, is removed a hidden recoil adjustment that made the weapon more stable than intended. Now this will be really interesting because if you don't remember, the hard light used to shake. You were like shake around violently as you use it, but they took that away. And I'm not sure if they're bringing the shake back or if they're just adding more recoil to the weapon. So we'll see what happens with that. Fingers crossed that they nerf this in such a way that it is not as dominant as it has been, because I'm going to pull up right here. We can see the stats. This is all 7 weeks of trials. We have the burnout the first time and burnout now on the 7th week. The hard light is the king of the Crucible, the king of the meta. It's the only gun that is being used in the #1 spot. The only time it wasn't in the #1 spot was Widow's Court week 3. The Revoker took its place because the Revoker is so extremely strong with its Reversal of Fortune perk, so you can snipe over and over and over again. If you miss a shot, it doesn't matter, you get the bullet back. So Revoker took the spot, Widow's Court. But here we are. In this week, we have the burnout. The hard light has 2.6 million kills. The Revoker in a very close second spot, which isn't surprising. It's still a very strong weapon. And in the future meta reports, after this patch comes out, I imagine the Revoker will probably take the #1 spot if people start to use the hard light less. Revoker has 2.5 million. The #3rd most used weapon is the Summoner Auto Rifle, which is not surprising at all. This gun has been rising through the charts every week, and I would not be surprised if this becomes the #1 most used auto rifle here on after the hard light gets nerfed. We'll see. #4 is Mindbender's Ambition, an extremely strong shotgun. And in the energy slot, of course, you already all know about this. This weapon is so extremely popular. I've made various videos on this, and I use this one a lot myself. The Suros Regime gets 5 out of 10, and the Suros is my favorite auto rifle to use. I think it's so powerful. You sometimes get health back. I have the Catalyst beat on it, so I get an even higher chance of getting health back, and it ramps up, so it just has an insane time to kill when it's fully spun up. Super, super strong auto rifle. So OP, so strong. Suros might be the #1, but as it goes right now, the Summoner even is way more popular than the Suros, so I wouldn't be surprised if people use the Summoner over the Suros even still. The 6th spot goes to Beloved, which is the best sniper in the game in terms of, you know, having good agile sniping. But the Revoker just beats it out because of that Pinnacle perk that it has. The Bastion rises up to the #7 spot here, which doesn't surprise me at all. I've mentioned it many times before. The Bastion is like the new Lord of Wolves. It's so extremely powerful. It does have a long charge up time, but if you strafe around a corner, if you charge it up when you're in safety and then strafe around a corner, you'll just unleash an absolute fury onto someone and just destroy them. So Bastion, super strong. Not surprised by that. The Astral Horizon is the #8 spot. The best kinetic shotgun currently in the game, in my opinion. The #9 spot goes to Spare Rations. No surprises there. Spare was #10 last week, though, so I was worried that maybe it wouldn't even be in the top 10, but it does make it to the 9th spot. Still the strongest hand cannon in the game. Very popular weapon. Very good choice for hand cannon users. You'll see it all the time. And the #10 spot, of course, this Dirty Rotten Dustrock Blues hangs in there another week in the #10 spot. I don't know how this thing still is in here. Only 426,000 kills though. So I imagine soon we will see a Dustrock Blues fallout, especially as more and more people get the Astral Horizon God roll. But that's the meta report. That is what happened this week in Burnout. We finally hit the 7th week and we got the first replay of a map. Doesn't surprise me at all that it was Burnout. If you remember Destiny 1 Trials of Osiris, they constantly played on the map Burning Shrine. That map was played over and over and over again. It was so annoying. We constantly had to play Burning Shrine. So I'm thinking I might make a video where I talk about all the maps that are currently in Destiny 2 that would be suitable for Trials, because personally, I like Burnout, but I don't like playing a map repeat. I would rather go through all the maps that are possible to play and then do some repeats afterwards. It would be nice. And some of those maps include the maps that we have in here, like Anomaly and Cauldron, Exodus Blue, were, I would say, acceptable maps, depending upon the size. You know, you may not have been the biggest fan of them, but size-wise, they were acceptable. You know, Widow's Court got a bit crazy there. It's such a big map. Rusted Lands as well. Maybe I wouldn't pick those two necessarily, but each their own. Some people like to snipe, some people like to scout rifle, some people like to keep their range, and that's fine. Try to give some respect to all the different variations of the metas that you like to use. A number that is really interesting, though, is that this week was Burnout, a beloved map, and it had 204,828 players. So we're finally seeing that we're almost dipping below 200,000 players, which is the trend that's been going on with Trials. That's been going down, 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 down. We'll see what next week's map choice is. We'll see what happens. Will we dip below 200K? Will Trials be declared officially dead? I don't think so. Like I've said before, I think that if we dip below 100K, we can call Trials pretty much dead and a failure for the season. But Bungie has announced a ton of changes to Season 11 and so on and so forth. So I think that with the new anti-cheat and with the new parameters set in place, I think that Season 11 Trials will be a lot more successful, because we'll finally have eliminated the majority of the cheaters that are in the game, because there's a lot of cheaters in the game right now. And if you're on console, there's a lot of DDoSers going on. And so it's a big problem. And those issues need to be fixed, along with the, loot that comes in the game. We need to have rewarding loot for players that can't get very many wins, or can't get any wins at all for that matter. They need to be incentivized to go in and play, because, it's important that people go in and play this activity. 200,000 players is an extremely low amount for a weekend. It would be nice to see this number around maybe 500,000 mark. That would be my, if I were to be working at Bungie, I'd be like, yeah, let's try to have 500,000 players playing every weekend of Trials. That would be impressive. It's easily doable. I know that when Trials of the 9 came out, there was 1 million players during that first weekend. So having 500,000 players every weekend of Trials would be very doable, and that would be a nice healthy number of players, so that way you're not playing repeat teams. I had my first experience this weekend in Trials where I played a team on game 6. They beat us, and then I queued up and I played them again, which didn't make any sense at all, because they should have progressed further in their card, right? It's card-based matchmaking. You should never match the same team twice, because win or lose, one of the teams progresses in the card one spot while the other does not. And so it's definitely really frustrating to play the same team twice. So seeing these numbers drop down to 200,000, stuff like that will happen a lot more often. You'll also see stuff like you're on game 1 and you match someone that's on game 7 and you lose and they go to the lighthouse and you're like, I'm on game 1. Me and my whole fire team are on game 1. How are we matching people on lighthouse game? As the player base drops lower and lower and more drastically, you will see more and more stuff like that, which is definitely frustrating. If we were to sustain around the 500K mark or beyond, obviously, the more the better, we would definitely see less of those types of issues. But let me know your thoughts and opinions on this week's meta report. Let me know what you think about the hard light nerf. Do you think it's going to be still the strongest auto rifle in the game, or do you think that the summoner is going to take that spot, or do you think the Suros regime is going to take that spot? What do you think? What weapon are you going to be using after the hard light nerf? And are you excited about the changes? Are you happy, or are you bummed? Did you really like the hard light a lot, and you're sad that your precious gun is being nerfed pretty substantially? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.